so I don't forget. Here's JC. How's that, Hugh? No sound from you, Hugh. Mr. Connell.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late.
It's all right, mate. Busy life of a student and all that.
Yeah, I'm afraid I was having to have a cricket meeting this morning, so actually on the topic, probably quite good.
Okay.
Mm.
What, as in planning for the summer next year?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very lucky I've been appointed captain down here in Exeter, so we're just having to do a few bits and bobs pre-Christmas of looking like what the plan's looking like after.
Uh, can you hear now, Hugh? Your sound's not working now, Hugh. We're having one of those days. Call it a snow day, I reckon. The funny thing is, the best one by a long way is Johnny's sound and vision is perfect.
There we go. Is that better? There we
Hey,
go. I've got some sound.
are you on
Probably
Vocaster?
zero. You got me.
Yeah, you in your Vocaster again.
Yeah, we're normal sound. Normal services
Yeah,
resume.
good. Right. Did you hear Johnny saying that he's captain at Exeter?
Is that captain at Exeter, as in the uni or cricket club?
The uni, yeah.
Good, very good.
He's not thinking of moving there yet.
And they've just pulled the funding from university cricket by the sounds of it as well, which is nice.
Sorry?
So, haven't they just pulled the funding from uni cricket, ECB?
I think they have. Yeah, I haven't really looked too much into it, but
There goes your contract and your packet from the ECB.
I'm going to ask a daft question before we start, Johnny. How much time will you get to play for Exeter before you finish?
um we we've got a Bucks season. So the uni sport is with rugby, football, hockey, whatever it may be, it's always called Bucks. And in that there are 8 teams in the Bucks League that we play. So all of the universities that are a UCCE, and we're one of the 3 teams who aren't a UCCE in the top league.
Right.
So we haven't got that add-on funding from the ECB, and then through that we'll play everybody once in a league table, and then one plays 4, 2 play 3 in a semi-final, and then into a final. But annoyingly, because it sort of starts in mid-April, I mean, my last 2 years, I think, having meant to have played 14 fixtures, I think I've only played something like 6.
Disaster in the last 2
Um,
years, yeah. And it's
yeah,
also
just
an
because of
exam
the
season
weather.
as well, isn't it? It just
And
crashes.
it's also exam season, so you might actually one week have, because they don't really take much take much notice of the cricketing fixtures, so they sort of just do their exams whenever they please, really.
Yeah, why would they take notice of anything that's actually non-academic? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I've got this thing with the county championship. Everyone's moaning about they can't get the county championship in, because of the season, the schedule, early start. Let's just move the county championship to Dubai for the first month of the season. They're on about with the Premier League. Let's do that, and maybe we can do the same with university cricket as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be
There's
great.
that ECB funding. Let's move
Yeah.
the first lot of ECB uni cricket to Dubai for March. Everyone's a winner.
You
That
can
would be- that
spend
would be-
everyone's money, you are, Newsom.
Well, it's not, just get Sheikh, whatever, who's running Formula One to pay for it. We don't mind a bit of corruption. Job done.
I wouldn't say those are right, definitely. Right, let's crack on then, boys. I've got all my data and stats in front of me, Hugh. Are you ready, Mr. Newsom?
I've been scribbling it.
Yeah, got loads to go at. Try and keep it to about half an hour, guys, because what we want to do is just literally review the trip to Spain, talk about European Cricket Network, how they operate, how the tournament was, and obviously big it up about the fact that we won. And then I'm going to shove it down Vinny Sandhu because he knows I'll send it to him afterwards straight away. So, ready, Hugh? Here we go then. So welcome everybody to the Premier League Cricket Show. Once again, we're turning our... Actually, no, I'm going to tell you boys something you don't know. Hugh does. I need to reintroduce it because we're going to make the National Counties show a separate show. So it's not the Premier League turns National Counties. It's going to be National Counties, a separate show next year. And challenges will feed into it. So...
Go again.
Welcome everybody to the National Counties Cricket Show, and once again we're going to take the opportunity to talk about, let's be honest, one of our favourite subjects when it comes to National Counties. It's our group from the Challengers, guys, and the European Cricket.
The glorious the most exciting cricket tournament that happened last year, I reckon.
Absolutely.
More sixes, more action, more carnage. That's what we want, isn't it?
Absolutely. To talk about Carlton and carnage, I'm going to be quite rude here. We've got a bit bored of Lambo, got a bit bored of Dan Lincoln. So instead, we've brought Dan Lincoln's favourite sportsman in the world on, and one of mine as well, Mr. Johnny Connell. How you doing, mate?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for having me, guys. How are you both doing?
Hey, really good and great to see you, mate. And from just up the road from Hugh and I, he's sort of equidistant from me and Hugh, in sunny Leek, Staffordshire. We've got bowler, Mr. Rory Haydon. How you doing, Rory?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Hey, it's great to have you guys on as, let's be honest, the young breed. Some of the new young guns have come through the challenges in the last 12 months and then have been out to Cartama, for that, as Q described it, glorious carnage of the European Cricket Championships. Let's start at the very top. Rory, just winning it and being part of that squad and that group of guys that go out, how did that feel at the end for you?
It was one of the best nights ever, I think. The bus journey back after winning, just the togetherness of the lads, the relief, the joy that we all had was just an amazing experience. It's something I won't forget.
I think the interesting word there, Hugh, was the relief. So, Johnny, your mates just described it as the relief. Did you feel that, or was it always in the bag?
A little bit. I mean, there's always, whenever we went out there, from hearing about previous years, there's the expectation from the England side. And obviously, being new, Rory and I being two new lads to the squad, we really wanted to live up to that expectation. So, yeah, there was a little bit of relief in the performances that we put together, but actually the whole joy and elation of winning was magnificent.
What was the bus like on the way back? I mean, I'm thinking of the mess.
The meth wasn't too bad. Unfortunately, we had Tommy Sturgis on tunes, so that wasn't great. And then everybody else, once I
3 minutes to throw Tommy under a bus.
yeah, yeah. Once we managed to get the phone away from him, it actually turned into quite a fun bus journey back.
Rory, how bad's Tommy's music?
I think, to be fair, on that night it wasn't too bad. He went to a lot of Pitbull, I think, because Hempy was next to him on the bus, and I think that kind of made the night a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I mean, Hempy and Sturge. Well, that's a mix and a half, isn't it, to say the least. I mean, but isn't that the joy for you guys when you're out there in Spain? That group, could it get more eclectic if it tried, Johnny?
Not really. You've got characters left, right, and centre, which is also why it makes it such an enjoyable trip. Is that even though people are coming, you've got somebody like a Freddie Fallows from way up north, and then several lads sort of down my area next to way. And actually just coming together from different parts, different backgrounds and then with a togetherness for an end goal and succeeding with that goal is something really special, actually.
I mean, I don't think there's a tournament that, a national team plays in that we are expected to win quite as much as this. I mean, it is basically, you can only fail unless you destroy everybody. That's the pressure just from the the nature of the opposition, the outside view into the comp. But actually, as you get to know the comp better, it is not a done deal, is it? These are very different conditions, very different style of cricket, and it's unusual for English players growing up to play this style of cricket. So I think the fact that we've done so well over the last few years is testament to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You may expand on that if you wish, but let's go back to the beginning of the tournament. And let's be honest, I mean, the start of the tournament for you guys was different to everyone else because you didn't have the run-in with the group games. It was straight into finals week. With the weather that was around for the start of the week, it was a bit messy to say the least. But when we eventually got going, our first game of the tournament, and I'm not going to go through them one by one, but there's some highlights in particular. We were playing up against Spain. And let's be honest, that first game of the tournament, coming up against Spain, who were the world record holders in T20 victories back-to-back, with a coach in Mr. Corey Rutgers, who's quite happy to tell everybody about that as well. Did you feel Rory running into bowling that first game with that little bit of pressure with the host nation and all those things around it?
Um, I- I'd say it was completely different to what I imagined. Obviously, I think Lambo gave a lot of information before going out, which was perfect because I think without that information, it would be quite a overwhelming experience when you first get there. And even with all that information given by Lambo, I think until you actually get out there and see it for yourself and play that first game, uh, no words will kind of put it into perspective of what it actually is. Um, but yeah, I think Spain were a dangerous side in the fact that they play that cricket a lot. And
Yeah.
like you touched on earlier, we're not brought up playing that kind of T10 cricket. So to play a different style of cricket that we're not used to against a team that plays that a lot, you know, just because we are England and we're favourites in that game, I think it's a lot closer than what people actually say.
Yeah.
That could have been a dangerous game, especially first up, and then being the host nation, and having all that media background and support from the ground themselves.
Mhm.
It could be quite difficult.
Yeah, and I think we started in what I describe as a typical England/England club style when we go to T10. There was a little bit of rabbit in the headlights for the first couple of overs because there always is, because that first time getting onto that ground and with the Astro, etc. You came on to bowl then, Rory, and we were 44. Spain were 44 for none, and with Mohamed Isan at the top of the order and Daniel Doyle Calais, DDC, who were two of the most destructive T10 batters in the whole of Europe. You must have been quite pleased to take that first wicket of the tournament for the boys.
Yeah, I think it was just it was good to get the first wicket just to get something under the belt. You know, find your feet in the tournament, and it was a good way to start to get that wicket in my first over. And obviously, I think the next couple of overs after mine brought the momentum back to us a little bit, and from then on, the rest of that bowling performance was brilliant, and we restricted them to a probably below par score.
Yeah, and I think in particular, we've mentioned him already, but we've got to be nice to him sometimes as well. Sturgeon, that innings, came on to bowl at the other end with you, took 2 for 11 in 2 overs, which in any T10 cricket is just phenomenal. And he just had that control, which made all the difference from what we'd lost at the beginning.
Yeah, I think he showed his experience. Obviously, being there the year before, when he come on to bowl, he almost brought a bit of reassurance and that experience from the year before, learning,
Mhm.
having a kind of learning year, and the way he bowled that day was really impressive.
Definitely. Now, we came into bat against Spain, and we'll move on to some of the other games shortly. But you were in that first game, Johnny, and you must have watched from the sidelines thinking, Sam's gone out there, unusually opening the batting with links. Tom Hindley had gone out there and he didn't score, but Niels Priestley went out there and just battered the ball left, right, and centre around the place. Were you at that stage going, hang on a minute, just give me a piece of this action, please?
I absolutely was. Yeah, I was chomping at the bit, but at the same time, having spoken to Lambo and Links, they were really clear with me that actually, from a batting point of view, coming in to this sort of new T10 cricket style is really, really, really difficult. And they were saying that the best thing for it is actually to have a look from the side. And I remember a, a sentence that I never thought would come out of Lambo's mouth was after the first innings when we bowled. I was obviously running the drinks, came off, and he goes, "Lads, 14 and over, that is a great start." And I sort of just looked at him and was like, what have I walked? 14 and over in any other cricket, I'm going, like, that is unheard of. And Lambo was super chuffed, and then we knocked it off with what, 2 overs to spare or something.
I
Yeah.
mean, it looked like a pretty formidable target. Just coming into that first game,
Yeah,
it wasn't
especially yeah,
it
especially
wasn't a
having not
walkover.
having not played the
Yeah,
previous week. I mean, it wasn't exactly a done deal, but you always want to get off to a nice start in those fast tournaments, don't you? And then the way that sort of young Ian Links went about it up top just basically showed me everything that I needed to see.
yeah. I mean, Tom Hindley's the one who struggled there with a strike rate with a mere 171.
Yeah,
Everyone else
Well,
is
he got a
pushing 300.
contract on the back of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just then again, who's that Aussie that we had who had a rather dodgy strike rate back in the day and got a nice contract here? Was it Mr. Jordan Silk?
Well, one of them, yeah.
Yeah, I think all of these guys who go on to great things seem to start off in their, if you look back at their records with a poor strike rate, and then somewhere down the line, we're all going, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom's going to be one of them without a shadow. So yeah, we beat Spain, and we're on the roll there. But you came into the next game, Johnny, and you got your first sight of the Astro against Scotland. And I'm gonna put things very brutally to you, Johnny, when I look at your scores. 21 against Scotland. 40 against, who was it? Germany. Netherlands 49. Then you got 31. You then failed. You got 11. And then the last two games, you got 56 and 89, was it?
Yeah.
Did you just feel from the start when you went out there, I've got this and I'm only going to get better?
No, not at all. I went out there against Scotland, and like you said, got about 20 odd or something.
Yeah.
Um, and I honestly felt like I walked off that pitch actually a little bit embarrassed with myself. Like just from how I played, I was so nervous pre going out, because obviously there's this expectation that you've got to crunch every ball for six. Um, and so like the nerves were quite high, something that I never really felt before. Usually quite a calm, relaxed, like, oh, whatever happens, happens. But I also had that real desire to actually really want to do well in this tournament. Um, and so yeah, pre that or post that game, I look back on it and go, God, I just want to get another shot here. Felt like I was a bit on the edge, and it was sort of like having chatted to Lambo post tournament. It was sort of like a little bit of a make or break because we didn't have time to for me to sort of see myself in, as it were.
Mhm,
I sort of either needed to get it or realistically wasn't going to be playing.
mhm.
Um, and then once the innings against Germany, where I got like 40 odd, was where it sort of all just settled and clicked and made sense. I think I got a bit lucky getting dropped on something like 10 maybe. So you obviously need a bit of luck to go your way. But once I understood it about actually you don't need to get any of it. You just need to keep your shape and swing through the line of it. Once you get that, it sort of all just clicked and away I went, really.
There's not a lot of sort of foot movement and in this sort of comp, is there? It's very
No.
much stable base,
Hmm.
stable head and swing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that because you don't? I mean, obviously it's the sort of T20 style, and and front leg and all that. But is it particularly like that because of the Astro and the way it comes on? Have you got less
Um,
time?
Not so much. I mean, I've never been a massive mover when I'm batting, but whether that's red ball cricket or white ball cricket. Um, and so sort of just getting real stable base, being able to play basically either trying to whack it straight or pull it for six. And that was sort of my game plan. And so I just found a position where I felt like I could do both of those pretty easily without much movement, as it were.
Yeah.
And then just really waiting for it, timing it, and understanding that you have literally got to get 60% of it, 50% of it to for it to go to sit for six. So just staying real still is the key.
And got to ask from the opposite end, Rory, when you were bowling to some of these guys who were just teeing off left, right, and centre, is that what you were looking for as a bowler? The guys who are moving more than others and find the positions they're in versus that stable base that Johnny, clearly found his way to by the time he got to the 89. I don't think he moved his feet once.
To be fair, I think what was difficult as a bowler out there this year was the wide line didn't move.
Mhm.
So if you saw a batter go across the stumps early, you kind of just had to stick to your plan and just try and nail that wide line. It was quite off-putting, but something that you had to try and deal with as quickly as you can. Obviously, Johnny saying he didn't move much at all, I think that worked for him, but other batters definitely moved across the crease, got across to that wide line and hit from there, which was quite challenging.
I think one of the most remarkable things I looked at though was I've had the pleasure of seeing Johnny hit two fabulous tons in the back end of the summer. One for the challenges against Zimbabwe at West Bromwich Dartmouth, and then you had that big 140 against Staffordshire in the NCCA Championship as well, Johnny. How different is that for you compared to going out to the Astro at Cartermere and literally stand and deliver?
Yeah, it's bizarre having like coming down to uni and mid-September, and then suddenly getting these two cricket balls that are called Grizzlies through the post, and Lambo going, right, just whack these for 2 weeks before you come to Malaga. It was sort of like I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and straight away just absolutely loved it. Um, like white ball cricket has always been the one that I enjoy more, not necessarily prefer, but find it more enjoyable. Um, and so like the whole idea of just trying to hit every ball for six really appeals to me.
Did you hear that, Hugh? We've just had Tom Lambert's secret. He throws Grizzlies in the post to players all around the country and just says, "Go hit them." That is it. We know how England won the tournament now.
Yeah, yeah. Is it? Are you actually, are you actually studying other players, taking hints and that, changing your style in a noticeable way, or is it just something that's just emerged from just trying to club everything for six?
Um, I think it was so the one that I really related to was Sam Youngie, having opened with him, and Youngie sort of the Lambo was telling me when I arrived that last year Youngie came into the squad and basically just created this whole new T10 outlook that everybody is obviously trying to mow the ball to cow corner region. And Youngie just did the opposite, stayed leg side of it, crunched everything over extra cover, mid off for six. And that's similar to me. I've never really been a big mower to cow if I'm trying to clear the fence. I've always been sort of hitting in the V. Um, and in the Scotland game, Youngie could really see that I was just trying to mow everything to cow. And he was like, he walked down, said to me, I don't forget about the offside. And then suddenly next ball, crunch one through cover for four. And then that's probably when it really clicked, is that actually like you can sort of, you don't have to change your game as much as you think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Keeping your same formula that's worked for you is the real key, and just backing that.
And I can tell you now that when you crunch that ball for four through cover, I had a text message within seconds directly from the commentary box. Because all of a sudden it was, now we see what we've got. Because we'd already forewarned the commentators what they were going to see from various players within the group. And obviously, having seen you play a lot of NCCA and Challenger stuff this year, Johnny, we talked about your cover drive and the way you play that. And Vinny was like, okay, we've got something here, haven't we? At the same time, the boys were looking at you, Rory, and going, hang on. You can see Sturge's been in the ears here. Sturge's telling the boy, they could picture the way you guys are pulling the group together and the conversations from Youngie to you, Johnny. And is that just the key, having that experience, Rory, with that mix of youth for you guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think Toby Greatwood and Tommy were really good people to have for me. They've both been there the year before. They both experienced it, and the knowledge that they had. I think Toby stood mid off for a few games and would just talk through the over, either about tactics or various things, just to help me, and that really helped, because sometimes when you're at the top of the mark and you're under the pump, you can get distracted. But to just have someone to talk to, relax you a bit and calm down is really helpful, to just have that experience alongside.
And for yourself, Johnny, again, with those experienced batters around the likes of Youngie talking and links in your ear?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Opening with Youngie, absolutely loved it. And then whenever I got a chance to bat with links, we always bat really well together at Berkshire and love batting together. So it was basically just going back to that, and neither of us really say much to each other. We sort of just give each other a nod and get on with it.
Cricket's, is a game of failure, particularly I think for the batters. But actually, it's switching round, Rory, in the T10 comp. It's almost like it's a game of failure for the bowlers in the T10 comp, just for the sheer punishment you guys take and the resilience you need. The batters can walk out there, get a two-ball duck, and it's almost job done. Well, it wasn't working, I'm gone, there's somebody else. How does it feel, to be on the end of an onslaught?
Yeah, it's something that you just don't experience. You don't experience that kind of pressure of, the batter is literally trying to hit every ball up the ground. And I think from a bowling unit, going under 15 and over was a win. And getting your head around that was kind of almost the hardest thing to do. If you went for 14 off and over, you normally think, well, I've been whacked a bit there, but actually in that context of cricket, it was seen as a good over, which was bizarre.
I mean, I think was it the Spain game? I think it was the Spain game, and DDC struggled a bit, but I think were they something like 70 odd for one or something like that in one of the Spain games. And you're thinking actually we're under the pump here, but quickly you guys were able to get it back just by keeping a level head. It must be quite easy to resort back to panic mode when you're just getting crunched everywhere. We lost you, Rory.
The momentum that you can take in. Have you got me back, guys?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think that momentum was the key in that kind of cricket. I think you're only 1 or 2 overs away with bat and ball of switching the momentum of the game. Like you said in that Spain game, they were 70 for one off about 3 overs, and you're like, what we got ourselves into here? But I think two or 3 overs of momentum shifting cricket brings you right back on top. The game can change so quick. And like Lambo said before we went out, every ball's an event. And that is definitely the case. Every ball is an event. A wicket is so big out there. It just brings the momentum back to you a little bit. And then you can try and put the foot on the throat as much as you can and keep that momentum when you've got it.
Just for the listeners, what are the dimensions of the ground? I've been trying to guess, and what are the boundaries square? What are the boundaries straight?
50
I reckon roughly about
50
50 meters around.
Is it?
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, there are club grounds that are of similar. It's not nothing, is it? It's not. You've not got a 40-meter boundary. I mean, 50 meters is not international standard, but it's not that far off. It's not that small, is it?
No, I've definitely played on some club grounds that have been similar size and boundaries. There's one in the Staffs League, Meekins, that's probably around the same size.
Right, we know where to go then, don't we? We know where the Staff's T10 comp's going then.
Well, I was going to say we know where ECC should be going in Staffordshire. Then they've got the ground there perfect because I think they've got an Astro in the middle of Meekins as well, haven't they?
They've got an AstroTurf. They've got floodlights. It's
Right.
set up. Yeah, it's set up for a T10 comp.
Oh,
there it is.
I'll be texting Vinny later. We've got it on the doorstep here. It's perfect, isn't it? Hey, let's just go through the tournament very speedily because obviously games come at you guys ridiculously thick and fast, to say the least. So having spanked Corey and the Spanish, I might just send that clip to him. Obviously, we got to play Scotland, and unfortunately, we didn't get to spank them because it rained. Yeah, when it rains there, it rains, to say the least, didn't it? You then got your first hit at the Germans, and let's be honest, Johnny, you and Sam took them down rather easily in 5.4 overs to get to the 96 for 9, but the bowling unit had done their job. And then you got your first shout out at the Netherlands. And that, let's be honest, that's what was always, the game was always going to be about that. The tournament was going to be about the Netherlands. And you guys went out and scored 189 for 4 in that first innings against the Netherlands.
Not the other way around.
With yourself scoring 49 and Sam scoring 63. That first 4 overs between the two of you must have been electric, Johnny.
Was it the other way
It was the
around?
other way around. The Netherlands won that
We
one.
were chasing.
Oh, sorry, was that?
Yeah.
I've
that
put
was
them all in the wrong order. That's right.
no. Obviously England. That was that first look at the Netherlands. And
Okay, let me rephrase that then.
Shot, yeah.
This is why we added it anyway. Then we came up against the Netherlands for the first time, Johnny, and having had a wonderful time, I'll say, Rory, the bowlers against Germany, keeping them down below a ton. The Netherlands then spanked us round for 189, and there was quite a chase on then, Johnny. Did you feel you were in the game when yourself and Sam had got to, I think it was getting on for 90 for none?
Yeah, I think we always felt in the game, to be fair. And the Netherlands batting showed that one bloke coming in got, what did he get? Maybe 89 off of about 25 balls or something, wasn't it?
80 off 21.
Yeah.
80 off 21. Yeah. So that just shows that one bloke can win you a game straight away. And so, yes, having a loss is never nice, but actually the confidence that we took from that was really, really good. Knowing full well that one bloke has had to have a 10 out of 10 day with bat and ball because he was phenomenal with the ball as well. has had a 10 out of 10 day, and we were what? How many runs did we fall short there?
About 30.
By 20.
20.
20.
So in T10 cricket, that's not much at all. And so that really showed that the confidence we should take from this should be massive. That nobody really fired on that day for us, or during that game. No, nobody had a 10 out of 10 day. Maybe nobody even had a 9 out of 10 day. And we had so many match winners in that side that we know that if one person comes off, we chase that down hands down. Um, but it went the other way, and we still took massive amounts of confidence from it.
I mean, it was the loss you had to have. You're going to win these things. You've got to have that loss, haven't you? The Aussies
Absolutely.
are brilliant at doing that.
Yeah.
You'd probably rather that than in the last game as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. And we went on then to beat the Scots in the next day, let's just say rather comfortably. 8-wicket win, 6.5 overs to chase down 136. You guys made very light work of that. Sam went very early that day, but that was the day you had the pleasure of batting with your skipper, Mr. Lincoln, there, wasn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, that was pretty cool watching that from the other end. When he's firing, I don't think there's many better minor counties cricketers than him. And so it was a real pleasure to watch that actually.
Making sure you
59 off 14 balls.
just make sure you park your place. You notice that. I think the funny thing is we've got two lads on here though who'd say we probably had two of the best batters in minor counties cricket, national counties cricket, that day, both going off on it, because Dan Lincoln got 59 of 14, and at the other end, Rory, your mate, Mr. Priestley, scored 42 off 14. So let's point this out. He had a slower strike rate than Dan, but hey ho, he only got to 300. How did you feel the game suited Niels out there in particular, Rory?
I think Nils suits that game just in the fact that when he can play his shots, when the plan's really clear in that cricket. Like Johnny said earlier, it's try and hit every ball 6. I think when it's that clear for Nils and he's got his mind set on that, that's when he plays his best cricket. And the power he has and the strength he has to hit different areas of the ground and clear the ropes is, he showed what he can do. He's shown it before, and it just suited him out there.
It did, most definitely. And we move on from the Scotland game. We were back on Friday. We then beat the Dutch, and let's move on to Saturday, where it really counted. You've got that the eliminator, I think it's called, or the qualifier one, whichever they call it at ECC, and you come up against the Dutch in your first game on Saturday. You need to win this one to save having to play 3 games back to back, effectively, guys. You got the Netherlands restricted to that gentle 147, Johnny. Again, I'm sure Lambo came off going 14.7. That's absolutely fine, guys. You then go in with Sam. He goes very early, but you and Lynx, you just dominated the Dutch then for around about half a dozen overs to get up to 100, didn't you?
Yeah, it was pretty enjoyable. Just again, going back to that really clear plan of keeping as still as possible, swinging through the line of it, and luckily that paid off in that game, which meant that we were straight through to the final.
When you look at the bowling lineup from someone like the Dutch, with the likes of you got Shariz Ahmed, I think he was a spinner, I think, and then you got Sebastian, who's trying to be clever with his medium fast balls. Was there anyone in particular you were targeting, or was it just a question of wherever he's putting it, it's going?
I think it's probably the latter, to be honest. We saw their leg spinner as a real threat. The way that he performed, like you said, was it on the Thursday, when we were trying to chase that high score, that he showed that he's a real threat. And so there was a bit of tactics with him in terms of actually accepting that if we're 10 off the over already, we're pretty happy with that, knowing full well that we can catch up with the other 8 overs and the firepower that we've got down the order. So it was a case of, like Rory says with the ball, of changing momentum, that actually noticing spots when you have got the momentum, how can you keep that momentum for as long as possible? And so it was just having that little tactical awareness. But every other time you're just trying to hit the ball for 6.
And I think you're right, because the game's so short, with the 60 balls at the end of the day, that momentum percentage, if you can keep it going for 2 or 3 balls, it's massive in terms of the ratio versus a 3 sixes in a 50 over game is nothing compared to 3 sixes in a T10, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And especially if those 6s come in 1 over. it suddenly feels like a real momentum shift.
Definitely. And let's move on before we talk about the overall tournament. That big night on Saturday night, you're under the lights at Cartama. It's the first time you guys have played under the full lights, I think, wasn't it? Which was, interesting the way the draw had been laid out, so we didn't get to play under the lights whatsoever. I'm sure you'd heard from the boys who were more experienced about the difficulty of playing under the lights at Cartama, but the one thing that came across was the atmosphere looked great in the Cartama Oval that night.
You go for it, Rory.
Yeah, I think Under the Lights is just it's a different ball game, really. And like you said, I think leading into the whole week, we haven't played a game properly under lights. I think that first game against the Netherlands, the lights come on towards the back end, but the first game under lights is just completely different. And I think the way the whole tournament was set up to that night, the build up, the way we walked out, sung the national anthems, it was just an experience that you'll never forget. You'll take that with you in any game of cricket you play. That it's one thing that you never get to do again, or you might do, but it's very rare. It's just something that was unforgettable, really.
And let's be brutal about it. There was quite a few English supporters in the ground by that time as well, wasn't there? Because I know there was more families that gone over this year, started to understand what this is all about and enjoying it. A lot of expats come in for that then, don't they, as well, Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. The atmosphere was awesome, and the support that we had was terrific. Looked like they were all enjoying themselves as well, which was even better to see. And yeah, so that support was just egging us on even more to try and get the job done.
Yeah, and obviously we started off in that innings, 147 for five, the Netherlands. So get it right now. I'm in the wrong one. We started off in that innings there with yourself batting, Johnny, and was it ball one? It just went, and that was the day. Everything you built up to during that week. To say it clicked is an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I actually I obviously absolutely loved it, but I came off the field after the 10 overs a bit disappointed because I was like, not for any particular reason, but I felt like there was an element of doubt in terms of 160 is obviously a really strong score, but actually I felt like I should have probably deleted the game is how I was feeling, is that if I just get two or three more out of the screws, that 160 goes up to 180 and then it's game over. So I came off sort of a bit annoyed and didn't really know if it was, obviously it left an element of doubt is what I'm trying to say. Um, and actually I just felt like even though there was an element of doubt, our bowlers were never going to really shy away from that.
And I've got to ask, as a bowler, you didn't play in the final, if I remember rightly, Rory. But as a bowler, as part of the group looking onto the game, you're seeing the boys come off having scored 159. Johnny's only scored 10 sixes in his 32 balls. I mean, come on, with a strike rate of 278. As a bowling group, are you guys thinking we've got enough plenty here?
Yeah, I think I remember turning to Elliot when we were just about to go out to field, and I said we've got enough. I think looking from the outside in that game, 160 in a final with the scoreboard pressure, I always felt with our bowling side, our bowling group, that we got plenty enough, and luckily that turned out to be the case.
Definitely. And it was great to see one of the other newbies in the group, Seb Allison, then take two quick wickets at the start to take Clayton Floyd, who I thought had started to find some nice form during the tournament. And we all know Noah Crows, he was just bloody dangerous, full stop. And to get him and the two of them so early, they were four for two, the Dutch, weren't they then, Johnny? And you guys then, you could just see that there was a relaxation in the whole team, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was absolutely. There was a sort of like a bit of calmness came from that, and I wouldn't say it was almost relaxation because you're always on edge in a final, and so you never feel like the job's done until 10 overs is up because anybody can come out and have their day, as you guys saw throughout the week. So it was I'd say it was probably more bit of nerves had been settled rather than relaxation.
Oh, go on, Hugh.
The thing I take away from the whole the whole comp is just the fielding standards from the England lot. I mean, they were, the games, there was a few tight games here and there, and the batters from all sides demonstrating their abilities in the ball, but the fielding from England was miles ahead of everybody else. And I think I can remember one drop catch and maybe one misfield from the games that I watched. You know, it was absolutely fantastic. Is that something that just came from you guys sort of just general standards of being quality cricketers, or was that a real focal point for the coaching group?
Who's that directed it? Sorry.
Go for it. Take your pick.
I think it's sort of like the standards that we have of ourselves, or that we hold of ourselves. All of us being part of the Challenger squad is sort of the expectation that you're no longer a one asset cricketer. You're always two, if not three. And so the standards that we had in the field, they were phenomenal throughout the week, but I wouldn't really have expected anything less, to be honest.
And I think looking from the outside in, you know, I've watched the last 3 ECCs now, and the standards for all the other countries is without a shadow growing exponentially. And you guys have had to take that extra step in the way we've operated as a challengers group through the year, Rory, hasn't it? And you know, come together and really work on those strengths to make sure that we are the best of the best.
Yeah, I think that the depth that Lynx and Lambo went into in terms of the opposition was really, really good. I think going out and being ready to play with all that information, you know what your role is, you've got clarity. And I think that clarity kind of almost settles your nerves before you go out and play, because you know that you've got the backing of the coach and the captain, which just kind of relaxes you. And like you say, just even with the challenges through the summer, even into last winter when we first started to get together as a group, Lambo's always been really spot on with the information he goes into about opposition players, and I think that really helps.
Definitely. I think the biggest pleasure for me, and it's quite a strange pleasure to take from the final in particular, is seeing that the 5 wickets taken by the two new fast bowlers, or two of the new fast bowlers in the group, between Seb and Sam Keeling, right? I mean, that just shows the talent across the group, from the youngsters literally all the way through to the more experienced players there, doesn't it, Rory?
Yeah, I think Sam kind of tournament alight when he played that game. He came in and he bowled rapid, and you know, I think he kind of took the tournament on, and the tournament kind of feared him. And then with Seb, he kind of grew into the tournament. As the week went on, his performances kind of went up as well. In that final, like you say, you got them 2 wickets, and that was quality. I was really pleased for him.
And talking of things that grew into the tournament, we can't go past Sturge's moustache. You know, as things grew during the tournament, I mean, we had Rhino, the commentator, growing the baby Sturge. I mean, what was your first thoughts when you saw him turn up, Johnny?
Oh, I just thought he was an idiot. But funnily enough, I'm now doing the exact same for Movember, so I'm not really one to talk, and mine's much more of a feeble attempt than his was. That I mean, I think at first sights I wasn't best pleased, or didn't really, but I definitely by the end of the tournament took a bit of a liking to it and was a bit jealous of his ability to grow a tash like that.
The scary thing is he didn't get the rest of the fast bowling group to start on it, Rory, did he? I mean, you all should have backed him, really.
Yeah, like Johnny said, I think if I tried to grow a moustache like that, it wouldn't grow at all. So I'm kind of jealous of Sturge's ability to grow one.
Yeah, I think Rory's would be ready for around about ECC 25, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, moving on from that, we got to the end of the day. I mean, the last few overs, they sort of went by quite gently, I think is the best way. Okay, the odd sixes being hit and the odd fours being hit, but you got to those last few overs with you on the pitch there, Johnny, with around the guys. Rory was supportive from the side with the other guys from the squad. It looked just relatively comfortable in the end. Okay, we only won by 14 runs, but it actually looked relatively comfortable in the end.
I think it was, yeah, and it probably just echoed a bit. I'm going to give him a bit of credit. Links, to be honest, his sort of calmness as a captain really does feed through the squad, and I think that his also tactical awareness is better than anybody I've played with. Um, and so his ability to recognise situations and almost always get the right call with in terms of bowling changes and field sets. So when you've got a leader like that who you can really trust and know that his his calmness is going to shine through. That actually that just feeds down into the team, and everybody else sort of relaxes and can concentrate on their own jobs. He's pulling the majority of the weight, which is really good.
Absolutely. And, you can now look, guys, and it's a very simple thing to say. You're both European champions. You've both represented your country. As Rory said, you've sang that national anthem, and not only sang the national anthem, you've got to the end and you've had the trophy lift, you've had the full works. I mean, how did that feel as a squad, Rory, when you were there and Links brought that trophy over?
Yeah, I think just pure joy, really. And then what followed the bus journey back that I've already touched on, they're just memories that will live with you forever. And you always want to try and do it again and get one step better, retain it again. I know a few of the lads obviously went back to back, and me and Johnny being first timers obviously won it. And obviously, if given the opportunity, we'd like to retain it again. That'd be something that we'd really want to do.
Definitely. You talk of memories and highlights there, Johnny. Outside of the cricket, what would you put on for the ECC in terms of the highlights that were there? And obviously, it's not Sturge's moustache.
I think just the way that the tournament was run, it was a superb thing to be a part of, and actually everybody was so welcoming, so helpful that actually it just meant that our job as the players was purely to play the cricket, and we didn't have to really think about anything else. It was run so smoothly and so enjoyably that there was just such a warm feeling throughout the whole week.
And you guys have got to meet and play with players that you don't get to play with week in, week out throughout the season, obviously. Yeah, you've all made mates literally up and down the country now because they're all over the bloody place. Yeah. If I had to ask you, Rory, you had a choice to room with anyone going forward, who would it be?
I think it'd be quite interesting to spend a week with Cameron Hemp, rooming with him. I think it would be quite entertaining.
I think the word interesting is a good one. Yourself, Johnny, who's the one that you'd absolutely not a bloody chance want to room with?
The one that I'd probably not a bloody chance want to room with would be probably Cameron Hemp.
I had a funny feeling. Hey, joking apart, he's on fire in Australia at the moment with a couple of back-to-back tons, including a ridiculous one in T20 last week. So I hope you hear this, Cam, and keep going, mate, while you're down there. But looking forward to next season. The challenge for you guys is literally to keep doing what you're doing with the challenges, isn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also not only to keep doing what we're doing, but there's always that sight of improving, and really looking to get better as a squad and as an individual throughout the winter, that we can then take it into summer, put some performances together, and get ourselves noticed like we all want to do.
Absolutely. And yourself, Rory, you had the pleasure back end of the season of being noticed. It's a good word that Derbyshire twos. I think you played the last 4 weeks with them, week in, week out. You've got to be looking at this winter yourself, like Johnny said, to be pushing on from there.
Yeah, just kind of echoing what Johnny said, really, just looking to improve, obviously individually, but also as a squad with the challenges. I think there's a few lads in that squad who have been recognised this year. Obviously, Sturge and Shin played in the Metrobank, and Shin's gone on to sign a bigger deal. And that's kind of what the challenges is there for. And I think it's just exciting for us to be a part of it and have that opportunity to be a part of it and keep getting better and keep learning and developing as a squad and as individuals.
Definitely. And obviously, the big one for me is that in the last week, we've seen the national counties fixtures come out, lads, and you can now start to plan your summer and those long drives left, right, and centre around the country. It seems a long way away, Johnny, right now, but you must, when you see those fixtures come out, start thinking, yeah, we're on our way now.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really exciting. I mean, I've had a few weeks off of not touching a cricket bat and since Spain, and I'm now actually itching to get back in the nets and get back to it.
Unlike the bowler who's going to take time off and manage his workload, obviously, Rory.
Yeah, I think I'll rest the legs for a little while. Have a bit of time off bowling.
Yeah, it's funny how those things that we never used to talk about 20 years ago, Hugh, managing workload and stuff like that.
Well, bowlers, I think they used to get bowled into the ground, didn't they? And they'd have no no shins left by the end of the summer. So yeah, everyone's been a bit more careful these days on the whole.
Especially if they've been having Grizzlies smack back at them left, right, and centre.
Well, fielding out in Cartermere for
Definitely.
those balls travelling at the rate they travel at.
It was an absolute pleasure to support you guys from afar. It was an absolute pleasure to be a part of what you guys have done with the challenges throughout the season. And we look forward to joining you guys during 2025 again. And let's be honest, let's pile it on till next autumn and let's beat the Dutch, the Germans, the Scots, and everybody else again, shall we, boys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Connell.
And Paul.